Hey guys, it's Car Guy 11. I'm super excited to have the brand new 2022 GR86 behind me. And about 2 years ago, I reviewed the previous generation and I just about fell in love with it after a week of driving it thanks to Toyota. I'll have this one for a week as well. And this one is actually on my list of 2023 sports cars I'm considering buying. So very excited to see all the improvements the new generation brought and just really looking forward to it. I'm going to be putting a lot of miles on it this week. I have some very fun drives planned, so stay tuned. So it's been almost a week since I've been driving the 2022 GR86 Premium, and I've been having a blast in this little car. It's so fun to take on your local back road, and it's a huge improvement over the previous generation GT86, which I did review in the past. If you want to check out that video on the channel, it improves upon pretty much every aspect of the car. And we'll talk about handling right now, since I am doing a back road here. The handling is improved mainly due to the tires on this Premium. It has the Michelin Pilot Sport 4s instead of the Michelin all-season tires that you get on the base model of this generation and the previous generation, which obviously didn't have as much grip. But that's the biggest handling difference, I feel. Otherwise, it's the same excellent handling of the previous generation. It's a firm sports car suspension, but it also does soak up the bumps. It's not harsh at all when you hit those bumps. And the chassis rigidity is good on this car, unlike the Miata, which you would definitely feel that jittery flexiness since it's a convertible. And it also has the supports in the engine bay for chassis rigidity, and you feel it. We'll do a nice acceleration from the stop. Now, one thing, it does have a lot of axle hop when you launch it. The Boxster engine is an updated 2.4 liter larger displacement engine now instead of the 2 liter prior. Now this of course has more power, and you do notice it. It's 228 horsepower, 184 pound-feet of torque, which is about 25 horsepower and pound-feet more than the previous generation. But more than that, you feel the more linear power. You don't have that power dip around 3,000 to 4,000 RPM like you did in the old one. And overall, it is a quicker car. You're still getting 0 to 60 around 6 seconds, which is a slight improvement. But again, the acceleration isn't the true story of this car. It's the handling like we're doing now. And it's a beautiful handling. So easy to toss this vehicle around with its lightweight, 2,800 pounds still. It's just a slight increase from the previous generation. Now this road is a little bit rough, but you're hearing the road noise from those Michelin tires. It's actually tire noise. I don't hear wind noise. I don't hear much engine noise. It's the tires that are giving the road noise. So you might find a quieter tire. I also noticed that on the highway as well. But other than that, it's way more refined than the previous generation. And it's way quieter actually inside as well. But yeah, back to the engine. It's pretty quiet, but it does have that speaker inside the vehicle which adds sound. I'm not really a fan of that. The previous generation had the sound tube coming from the intake of the engine piped into the interior. That's eliminated on this new engine. Also, the exhaust is extremely quiet. So what I would do is eliminate the speaker. You can do that from your dealer. I would eliminate that noise and probably end up getting a louder exhaust just to bring the engine noise up, because otherwise it's pretty much silent. And as I said, all you're hearing in the interior is the tire noise. The steering is very direct, great feel. They did update the steering. I can't notice too much of a difference here. Now, to get the most out of the power, you do have to rev it up, and it goes to 7,500 RPM. Redline. Still not the fastest engine to rev out to that 7,500 RPM. And of course, you know, coming from more powerful sports cars, I have two, you know, it's still not going to feel the fastest. But the shifter action is excellent, like it was in the previous generation. Very direct and very nice light shifter. Also, the clutch is on the light side, but it's heavier than in other lower power vehicles I've been in, so it's actually a perfect feel for the clutch. Unfortunately, you don't get rev matching in this vehicle, but it is easy to rev match. It does have a little bit of rev hang when you're shifting fast through the gears, but the power definitely picks up in the higher RPMs. And it has the cool shift light and buzzer, which you can set, and I have it set to 7,000 RPM to let me know when to shift, because if you set it to all the way to 75 or 7,400, I was bumping on that red line before I was able to shift. So setting it to 7,000 seemed perfect. When you're in track mode, which reduces the stability control tolerance, you get the horizontal bar graph of the RPM, and it's funny, it basically only shows 4,000 to 7,500 RPM, which is what you're going to be using when you're performance driving this car, because like I said, of that high RPM power band. But it is pretty cool to see that. Unfortunately, you cannot adjust any of the other screens once it's in track mode. Like, for example, you can't see your radio station and any fuel economy, things like that. But so there's full acceleration through third gear. As I said, this is geared pretty short, so it does have a lively feel. And even in sixth gear, you're at over 3,000 RPM at 75 miles per hour, which hurts your fuel economy on the highway, but you're still getting decent fuel economy. I did take this car on a fun drive with some friends, and it was able to keep up with Camaros, and I'll show you the video here. Oh wow, this is real tight. Dang. And this car likes to dance. Dang. Beautiful. Woo. Second gear for these tight. Dang, this car is awesome on these narrow roads. Woo. I'm in track stability control. I'm averaging around 26 miles per gallon and over 500 miles of driving, and the combined figure is 22 miles per gallon according to the EPA, so it's beating that. Now this takes premium only fuel. Love the feel of the brakes on this car. There's very little travel to the pedal until you feel braking. It's a nice firm pedal, and it feels very confidence inspiring. Now I do wish that they had the Brembo brake option like the previous gen had, the performance package they offered, which had front and rear Brembos, which is very rare for a light car like this, but I would still prefer it. I think if you do a lot of aggressive driving or track driving, you would see the benefits of it. As we slow it down for more traffic here, I'll talk a little bit about the interior improvements. Like I said, they restyled the full interior and exterior. What do you think of this color, the Neptune blue? It's a very bright blue, pretty cool. One thing I could say about the color though, this color does not have any metallic flake in it. So I noticed that you could see any little scratch or any dirt. It's very easy to see on this paint since it doesn't have any metallic in it. But it is a cool color nonetheless. I think the styling outside looks nice as well with the black wheels. These are 215 18-inch tires on this premium model. The base models get the 17-inch on the all-season Primacy tires. The view out is excellent. It's almost mid-engine like. Because of that Boxster engine, it sits low and the hood can slope downward, so you have a great view out the front. The view in the back is pretty cool because you see that lip spoiler on this premium, which is almost Supra-like. Stay tuned. I am going to do a separate video comparing this car to its brother, big brother Supra. Of course, you guys know I do own a 2020 GR Supra, but I'm going to have a friend drive my Supra that is also an owner of this car, a 2022 GR Premium. So we're going to discuss those cars together in that video, see what he thinks about the Supra. Yeah, we'll give you impressions about both cars. So stay tuned and subscribe for that. The interior is pretty nice with this ultra suede on the door. It has the dash hood as well. And it's on the seats, which I'm actually not a fan of because I feel like they're hot. And they did update the seats, but unfortunately they did not add in lumbar support, which I wanted, which I would love to have. And I'm not exactly sure why they bothered updating the seats if they didn't add that. Now the bolstering is very good on the sides and on the bottom cushion as well. But yeah, it's definitely missing the lumbar, unfortunately. The infotainment system is a big improvement. It has standard Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and this stereo with the premium trim here, it's an 8-speaker stereo, and it actually sounds decent. And it has some bass, and it's a world of improvement over the prior generation. I couldn't even really listen to it, to be honest, in the prior generation. Another really nice thing is you have your radio station up there, which I really like because I normally run the map on the main screen, and it's nice to see what song's playing on the radio. It doesn't have navigation or anything, but obviously with the phone integration it works very well. Although I did have a few instances where my Apple CarPlay did not want to connect. It said CarPlay not available, which I did have to reset the radio. I pressed and held the volume button for about 10 seconds or so, and it restarted, and then it was fine. But this happened a few times during my week, and it is wired. It's not wireless connection, so I'm not sure. Maybe it needs a software update, but it really shouldn't have a problem with a wired connection especially. So that was a little disappointing. But in the center console, it does have 2 cup holders, which are not exactly in the best spot because your elbow would bump them. And then you could close the lid for a little armrest, which is nice. Now the automatics also have a cup holder in this center console behind the shifter, which I am not sure why the manuals don't. And I kind of wish it was there for other little knickknacks and things, but I guess it would be in the way of shifting is why they didn't put it there. That's my guess. It does have door bottle holders, which is really nice for bottles, but not so much for cups or cans. So you got to watch that because the door moves, obviously. But it's nice to have those deep bottle holders in the doors. Also, it's a very powerful AC, which is awesome, and again, a big improvement over the last generation. You do get heated seats in this premium model, which is a nice feature. And then you have your traction and stability control buttons right ahead of that. Now, there are no sport modes, there are no other driving modes in this car. The autos do get a sport driving mode for the transmission, but like I said, you don't really need it in this car, and that's the beautiful simplicity of this car. It's sport all the time, and you have a stability control program that allows that you can turn it fully off, or the track mode allows a decent amount of wag to the rear before it steps in, so it is pretty fun. The other nice thing about the car, it does have some practicality. There are rear seats. You're not going to be able to use them for people, but you could throw things in the back. And there is a trunk, which is small, but again, you could throw some things back there. Does not have a spare tire, but there is some more room under the load floor. Still retains a manual handbrake, which is a rarity anymore. A lot of people like that. The steering is leather wrapped, which feels good in the hands, and it has steering wheel controls as well. The lights are LED headlights with the steering, so that's a pretty advanced feature. Now, they also added some new safety features for the refreshed model. It has the blind spot monitoring and the rear cross traffic alert. And the automatic actually does have adaptive cruise control, which would have been really nice to include on the manual, but a lot of manufacturers don't do that, unfortunately. Although Toyota does offer it on the Corolla manual. Now, one thing they did cheapen out on the interior, it used to have the knee bolsters, the driver's side knee bolsters on the inner tunnel and the door. They are now hard plastic, which is unfortunate. But other than that, overall the interior is a nice upgrade. Now, the price of this car is $31,300, fully loaded premium here. And, you know, I think it's a good value. It's a ton of fun. It still has some daily practicality. But for vehicles in this price range, they're mostly going to be front-wheel drive based. And I much prefer rear-wheel drive based vehicles. I'd rather spin the rear wheels than the front wheels, I always say. So, but that's a personal choice, I guess. There are definitely some fun front-wheel drive vehicles. I just have a lot of fun extracting all the performance out of this vehicle. That is the fun of it. You're using the vehicle closer to 100%, where we have a fast sports car, you're never approaching that limit because it's too dangerous on the road and even on track. And that's another nice thing about this car. If you decide to track it, your consumables will be less because it's smaller brakes, smaller tires, lighter weight. You're not going to go through them as much. That is the beauty of this car. And compared to Miata, I do like this better still. I think the suspension is tuned better, less roll, and I like the stronger, rigid chassis better. But I am personally not a convertible person. If you want convertible, yeah, that's going to be your option. But I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Guys, let me know your thoughts on this car in the comments below. Have you seen the new ones out and about yet? But appreciate you guys' support that lets me get these press cars. Thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video.